Joining me now is Talk TV host Mark Dolan, regular here on Paul Murray Live. Mark, good to have you with me on this Easter Sunday. Trump, last time he suggested he could do things such as blow up energy infrastructure, etc., walked back from that, said there was a deal potentially on the table. That's how they wanted to deal with things. He's back to the rhetoric he was using before. How likely do you think it would be that he will follow through?
Well, he's reluctant to follow through, Caleb, and we know that the language is clear. Operation Epic Fury is going to get more epic, and he thinks he can win this game of chicken with the regime, who, let's not forget, are massively weakened. They've got no air force to speak of, and they've got no navy. Their ships are in the bottom of the ocean. So he holds the upper hand to a degree. What have they got, Caleb? They got the Strait of Hormuz, which, of course, Trump wants to make the Strait of Trump. And he's got his work cut out. But the truth is, we know about this regime. They are terrorists. It is an autocratic regime. They wish for the entire death of the West. America is the great Satan. The UK is a little Satan. Australia is going to be another Satan as well. Add it to the list of countries that they detest and wished to destroy, of course, most particularly Israel. But I think there have been some positive developments, Caleb, for Trump in the last 24 hours, particularly the rescue of the second airman who ejected from his F-15E jet. And that was significant. Now, this guy apparently has been hiding in the mountains of southern Iran. And it's great news for Trump that he's been rescued, because otherwise, if he'd fallen into hands of the Iranians, then that would have been leverage, that would have been a hostage, and would have made any negotiations more complex. So I think that the regime will come to the table, but you have to be firm with these people. They are terrorists. They don't respond to diplomacy and gentle pressure. Strength is the only thing they respect.
And the point you make about the fighter parliament, I think, is important as well, because it's not just what could have happened with Iran in terms of the leverage. I think it's the damage it could have done politically at home for Trump, because it makes it very difficult to prosecute the case that we should keep going once they start seeing that US troops are being captured. I mean, it's already a bit precarious as it is. It could have been big trouble politically if it had turned out worse.
Most definitely. I mean, the Democrats, all of the left, would have used this against Trump and a war they consider unjustified and wrong. They would leverage the human emotion. Here's an American trapped in Iran and it's all Trump's fault. So, yeah, it would have been a diplomatic, political, strategic and military headache. And now we can just hope that some kind of deal is going to be done. It is all about the Strait of Hormuz. I think Trump will act on his words. He has to. Otherwise, he's not got no credibility and the regime will detect weakness.
Now, you talk about headaches. A bloke who could probably do with a few packets of Panadol right now would be Prince Harry. Maybe that's just so he can deal with the fact that he's, got Meghan in his ear all the time. But a few other problems he's got to deal with. We saw this story during the week about the privacy case that he's been running, so it's his own case. But this business came up with flirty Facebook messages that he had shared with journalist Charlotte Griffiths from the Mail. And these have come up in court. He'd previously told the High Court that he wasn't friends with journalists and nobody in his close circle spoke to the papers. He said that he'd only met her once, and then once he found out that she was a journalist, he didn't talk to her again. But you read these messages, which went over weeks, and he's talking about, I miss our movie cuddles, and they're talking about parties that they've been to together, and I'm sorry I couldn't make it this time. Has he misled the court? Has he perjured himself here, potentially?
Well, I think there's a case to be made, Caleb, that he has. Now, he's lucky that this particular court case is to do with privacy. It's not a criminal proceeding, and therefore, even if he has perjured himself, there are unlikely to be consequences. As usual, one rule for Harry, another rule for the rest of us. But reputationally, the damage is done. And also it could influence the outcome of the case, because Mr. Justice Nicklin, as you say, has to work out, what exactly this friendship relationship with Charlotte Griffiths was. As you've said, his argument is that I knew this woman, I met her for a day, found out she was a journalist, and then cut her out of my life. Well, she's referring to him as Mr. Mischief in emails. His nickname for her is G-string because her initials are CG, which, as you know, is my nickname for you, Caleb, but we'll keep that quiet.
You weren't meant to tell people that, Mark. God,
it's Easter.
Won't have you,
We've all had a drink. So, the whole thing is really embarrassing. He's not, whether or not he misled the court, he's not going to be punished for it, but it diminishes his case. And this is, of course, a case against the Daily Mail, the most read English language newspaper in the world. And by the way, Caleb, if he loses, then he's on the hook for upwards of $10 million. And this is money that Harry has not got.
Well, it is always nice having you on, Sweet Cheeks. While we're talking about Harry and Meghan, Netflix, and they've been, stuck in this deal with Netflix, or I probably more accurately should say Netflix has been stuck in this deal with them. Now they're apparently looking at ways to revive the deal, get their value out of it. A reunion with Meghan's father, Thomas, apparently on the table. Maybe an anniversary series on Diana, fronted by Harry. Again, it's the... we want privacy unless there's $1 to be made out of it, right?
Well, most definitely. And particularly in the case of Harry, Caleb, the only thing he's got to offer, right, his meal ticket are his royal connections. And the latest suggestion is a documentary about Diana. Now, we're approaching that anniversary of her sad death in 1997. And the bottom line is that if he goes ahead and executive produces a documentary about his mother without William's permission, that's the end of their relationship. There will be hell to pay. But the issue you've got, as I intimated earlier, the couple need money, Caleb. They do have a few $1 million in the bank, but they're getting through the cash very quickly. They've got security costs. They've got a mortgage on that Montecito mansion. And the income is diminishing. I mean, Harry was allegedly charging in excess of $1 million per speech when they left the UK. It's closer to 150K now. So his stock value is going down. The only thing Netflix want, and the only thing any potential publisher wants, is royal gossip. Yeah. And so it's either going to be Diana. And then, of course, there is the Thomas Markle Sr. angle. That is Meghan's father, who, let's not forget, almost died in a Philippines intensive care unit and couldn't get hold of his daughter, was desperately calling her old number. Well, suddenly, maybe she'll gain an interest in her father if there are dollars to be made.
$1 million, I just need to put up my speaking fee. They could have took my bosses here. $1 million, where is it? Now, the former Tory minister, Michael Gove, he says he has a crush on the Labor Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, and he says he's spending quite a lot of time online looking up photographs of her. He might have to explain it to his girlfriend. Take a listen.
I do worry, though, that if Shabana Mahmood had access to my browsing history, she would discover that quite a lot of my browsing is me typing in Shabana Mahmood images or Shabana Mahmood history.
Really? Watch out, Shabana Mahmood!
Oh, yes.
Well, like a political crush or a crush?
Oh, both. I think she's gorgeous, but there you go.
Oh, my God. What on earth has he just admitted that for?
This is worse than the G-string.
Look, I mean, you're not going home looking up Caleb Bond images, are you, Mark?
Never say never. If I have enough fortified wine, anything's possible. Listen, Caleb, I'm trapped in a loveless marriage. Never say never.
Your poor wife.
Here's the thing, Caleb. It is wild, isn't it? Michael Gove was on my Talk TV show the other day. He's an intellectual man. He's a thinker. And obviously, but so I think Shabana Mahmood, I mean, let's be honest, she's a fine-looking woman. Probably the thing that he's attracted to in particular is she's a very rare thing, Caleb. She's a lefty with common sense because she's our Home Secretary responsible for law and order in the UK. And she has had a brilliant idea, which is to double the length of time that somebody that's come to the country must wait before receiving citizenship. And she suggested terms and conditions to becoming British, including an income, speaking the language to a high standard, and not having a criminal record. So any conservative's going to fancy that.
Yeah, as long as they don't look at my search history and say I'm looking up Nigella Lawson images. Mark Dolan, a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.